This is a really good question. It's one of these things that I've never really talked about, and it really has to do with, doctors or nurses and staff at hospitals or emergency places where, if an alcoholic goes there, they're going to get a lot of judgment a lot of the times because doctors and nurses aren't necessarily drug and alcohol treatment centers. Okay, they're there for health care, and when they see somebody kind of abusing their own health, sometimes, not always, of course, but they will have a little bit of an attitude. And I talk about this because there's many incidences with Amanda, who really had to deal with doctors and nurses and did get a lot of backlash. So let me read this to you real quick. I work in healthcare, and sometimes my colleagues disappoint me because we see a lot of addiction and still a lot of judgment. And I certainly felt that firsthand. I guess it wasn't directed to me, obviously, because I was the husband, but definitely Amanda felt that. And there was a couple times that made me a little bit sad, just because what she had to deal with. I mean, she was there trying to get some help because she had, obviously a mental health disease, and she was there inebriated, and she really didn't get the care that she wanted. So let's continue the conversation. And I can remember real early on, this was probably 97, 98, before our son was born, a good 27, 28 years ago. Real early on. And Amanda, I don't know, whatever reason, she was drinking too much for a while. This is before she really had big problems, but she had been binge drinking. I think we had a party at our Canyon Lake house, and I think she was going through withdrawals or whatever, and she didn't have any alcohol. I don't think she understood it at that point. But anyways, I took her to the emergency room, not fully understanding what was going on. As innocent as I was at the time, it was really strange thinking about it now, but early indications. But we went to the emergency room, and I remember the doctor there, gave her a couple tests. They tested her blood pressure, and I think in that blood they found out that she had pretty high alcohol content in her. And the doctor came out and just went, it was really a very nice female doctor in the emergency room. I thought she was. And she just went up and down Amanda like crazy, like, why are you wasting your time coming here? You're drunk. Why don't you just go home and sleep it off, kind of thing. And Amanda was just kind of like, we're here to get help because I don't know what's going on. I've been dry heaving, and I'm dehydrated, and so they gave her some medication. And then the doctor basically said, well, just get the hell out of my hospital. Pretty much that was the general attitude. And I think it was a little bit soul crushing for Amanda. I know she was very embarrassed, but just to have hospital staff treat you like that because of an alcoholic, it just shows their blatant ignorance, and they're kind of a racist attitude towards someone who's an alcoholic without really having a full understanding of what's going on. And then there was another incident much later, around 2014, when my wife had her gastric bypass surgery. The surgery lasted quite a while. Usually it should last like 2 hours, and they were in there for like 3 hours. And when the doctor came out, he wasn't too happy because they ended up not being able to do the actual surgery because they realized that she had such a fatty liver, and there were so many problems with her liver that they thought that a complete gastric bypass surgery would be too much stress on her body. So they had to cancel the surgery, and he kind of went up and down on me, like, we didn't know that she was that much of an alcoholic. She's got all these problems. What's going on? I mean, this is, kind of a waste of, everybody's time. We're going to have to reschedule and probably do a gastric sleeve bypass. I mean, he could tell he just was not a happy camper about the whole thing, and really wasn't too concerned about the underlining problem, which was Amanda's alcoholism. Well, he was a surgeon. It wasn't really his job to do that, and I understand where he's coming from. But again, there really isn't a whole lot of empathy or understanding on the disease, even from medical personnel. And a lot of it is no doubt very understandable because medical personnel, they see the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst come through their hospitals, no doubt. I mean, they see the last end stages of drug and alcohol addiction, and it's not a pretty sight. If you've never seen somebody in the throes of their last few months of either alcoholism, alcohol use disorder, or some kind of drug addiction, it's not a pretty sight. I mean, you're mentally and physically really in your last leg, and there's not a whole lot you can do for that person except trying to keep them comfortable, and a lot of times they're not really mentally in the best state. And I'm sure as a healthcare provider, that's a very difficult place to see on a daily basis, and I'm sure they do. So, I mean, in their defense, they're there to help and generally, but I just wish there was a little bit more education, just in general, by people to understand this disease a little bit more. I think that's what I'm trying to do. And again, thanks for listening. And really, lastly, real quick, I have a complete coaching program. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Link is in the bio. Go to the breakthrough call. The call is free, takes about 45 minutes to an hour. The course, definitely not, and then we'll go over the course, but I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. There's lots of different options to get involved, but first I want to see the commitment level of somebody who has a conversation with me. Don't worry, we'll get there for you. And again, thanks for listening.